The heart of the matter is the matter of the heart. Can you even imagine a community, society, and a world based on love? I think most of us, whether we know it consciously or not, yearn for such a beloved community. Humanity has held this dream in our heart of hearts, but is it even possible? I say it is, for one reason, because a new humanity is already built into our divine nature. I know that statement seems to fly in the face of reality. With two major wars in the Middle East and Ukraine, not to mention all the other wicked crises we are facing, how could any sane individual believe such a thing is achievable? There's a key insight, a key breadcrumb for us to follow that is so obvious, so endemic and intrinsic that it is invisible. It's invisible the same way your smartphone mapping function is invisible. You take it for granted and it works. It's everywhere, working quietly in the background. Mahatma Gandhi once said, and I paraphrase, if it weren't for the countless acts of goodness and kindness happening every day in local communities, humanity would have already perished a long time ago. As I mentioned and documented in chapter 10, these fractal acts of divine love are happening everywhere, 24/7, unmeasured and largely unacknowledged. Like the invisible smartphone mapping function, there are billions of people who generously help and uplift others every day in their families, with their neighbors, in and from their churches, organizations, workplaces, networks, and throughout all local communities. These acts of goodness and good works are the power of love coming through us, impelling our loving actions and extending outward into communion with others in personal and organizational relationships. This generosity that Pope Benedict called gratuitousness is the driving power for beloved community. And I would add, the next phase of human cultural evolution. We receive the gift from God, from the divine, from what I call an ancient blueprint, universal in human society, whether East, West, or indigenous. We naturally want to express it as an overflowing, grateful gift to others, taking the form of mutual aid, what I call intentional mutual benefit. It's in our very nature, even coded into our very DNA. But also within our nature is the desire to dominate, control others, and build top-down hierarchies, systems, and empires that end up operating from another set of principles, more from Machiavelli's playbook based on win-lose, and the end justifies the means. This is the exact opposite of a society ruled by love, where the means and the ends are one and the same. Faced with this challenge, we keep seeking fixes and formulas. The world has made us believe that to solve the myriads of complex problems at every scale, we need some new and shiny formal structures or systems. Unwittingly, we get excited about new systems like new economies, new social or political ideas, or even modern spiritual or religious ones. But structures and systems still come primarily from the head, not the heart. What I have learned from more than 40 years of community building experience is that any system or structure that we think is the answer will always end up compromised and twisted and ultimately stamp out the spirit of love. What I have maintained throughout this book is this: you can't solve the global challenges of today by outdated mental models of social, economic, or political change from the past. Basically, you can't fix this system through the same outdated approaches that got us here. The good news is we don't need to. We already have an ancient blueprint, a tried and true way that has worked wherever it has been tried. Most recently through Dr. Ariyaratne's Sarvodaya movement in Sri Lanka and the symbiotic networks we created in Reno, Nevada. In order for these projects to succeed, we had to move beyond mind-made solutions and head for the heart. I know it's difficult in this world to trust our hearts because we are confronted daily by a world that operates not by the golden rule, but by the rule of gold. To truly succeed in this world requires practicing ego-based anti-virtues. For example, instead of generosity, our culture promotes avarice. Instead of mutual aid, it promotes an unhealthy competition. That's why a new direction for change suggested here may seem so counterintuitive, so seemingly incompatible with reality that it may be rejected out of hand. The answer is also so obvious and eminently simple. As I have said, it is simple, but it's not easy, because you must begin primarily with an open heart of love rather than just your head and your good thinking. The obvious solution is to align ourselves with enduring spiritual truths and thriving living systems and use that momentum to accelerate the natural love and generosity that's already happening all around us. Islands of coherence, as the noted chemist and Nobel Prize winner called it. We can bridge these islands and connect the good, accelerate the proliferation of well-being, and benefit all in our community, including ourselves and all of our organizations. Or we can deny our own innate power, simply repeating the patterns of the past, operating in our silos and network silos in isolation from one another. What can unify us is what we already know universally, that we've called symbiotic culture DNA. We begin with a shared purpose to connect the good and multiply the goodness already happening in every community around the world. We further build a foundation on shared principles like the golden rule, mutual benefit, self-responsibility, and self-rule, and supporting local community economies and cultures. We also come together around universally shared virtues such as love, integrity, courage, service, and respect, activating circles of people and groups in each grassroots community. Instead of looking to top-down political leaders, we ourselves build new network structures that are more like an organism than a formal organization in 12 areas of shared community needs. For example, a local food system network, local living economy, and the neighbor networks I described in my book. By coming together at the grassroots in new circles that connect all of the circles, we can build a parallel, life-affirming symbiotic culture and society, leading to a global commonwealth of local regional economies that can transform this world from the bottom up. It all begins with the love radiating from our hearts and the intention to proliferate that love. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful week.